Welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show. My name is Dr. Jeff Musgrave, Doctor of Physical Therapy, proudly serving in the older adult division. The podcast today is brought to you by the Institute of Clinical Excellence. It is Wednesday, so we're talking all things geriatrics, and so excited to share with you some tips and tricks from a recent article that I had the pleasure of co-writing with another faculty member for the older adult, Dr. Dustin Jones, also Doctor of Physical Therapy. This article just dropped in Topics in Geriatric Rehab, and the title is Transforming Lives with Group Fitness. And it is considerations for rehab professionals. So regardless of your setting, regardless of, what discipline you're treating, if you're in the rehab space and you are helping people move from one area to another, as people transition in care, hopefully we've got something special for you here. So I'm just going to be doing kind of a brief synopsis of tips and tricks that we covered. So you may not be aware, Dustin and I operate a gym for people 55 and up called Stronger Life. And in Stronger Life, we're helping people a lot of times transition from formal physical therapy, occupational therapy services, maybe about in home health or in the hospital. And they're trying to get to fitness. They're trying to build some reserve and resiliency. So we have a lot of firsthand experience seeing people try to make these transitions. So we'd love to share with you some hard-learned lessons over the past 4 years of helping people onboard to Stronger Life, some things that we would want to know as providers making that transition. Dustin and I have treated older adults across skilled nursing facilities, home health, outpatient, acute swing, basically almost every setting, and try to help these transitions made. So to set the groundwork here, the World Health Organization has shown that only 17% of Americans or of older adults are physically active. We know that 20% of older adults in the community are living socially isolated. When you put those two factors together, you've got an increased risk of all-cause mortality. On the flip side of this problem is the solution. Group-based fitness, group-based activity has been shown to be beneficial for improving physical health, cognitive health, emotional health, and overall just quality of life, as well as psychological health. So we know that we've got this big fitness sedentary behavior issue in older adults and adults in general that need to make this transition to fitness. The reality is a lot of us don't get much advice on how to make these transitions happen. And you as a provider have lots of things that you can do to try to make sure this transition goes smoothly so your patients can have a successful transition to group-based fitness. So tip number one, start with the end in mind. Discharge planning starts at day one. A lot of us have heard this, but for particularly older adults or any adult who is sedentary, who is not already involved in group-based fitness of some kind, has a fitness routine, we need to go check out these programs. We need to know what it's like, what the coaches are like, what's their ability to modify movements. Are our patients that we're targeting, can they use the equipment? Are the barbells so heavy that our older adult can't pick them up and unrack them? That's not going to be a great first experience. We need to keep in mind, can they get onto and off of this rower? Can they use the equipment that's all around the space? Is it too loud? Is it too dark? Is it too noisy? Are they going to get the one-on-one attention they need? So we've got to figure out, can our discharging patient or the patient we're planting the seeds for fitness for, can they actually participate in this group environment? Are they going to get the coaching they need? Can they use the equipment? We also need to know, what are the patient's goals? What are the long-term goals? Also, what are their preferences? What does our patient actually want to do? What can they see themselves doing? Where are people like them already exercising? We've got to ask these questions. We also need to go through the filter of financial resources. Do they have the money to pay for this? Do they have transportation to get there? So many questions to ask. We don't want to just willy-nilly say, hey, go over to box fitness over here or go over to fast food fitness over here. knowing it may be a club environment with low light, with lots of mirrors, with very little coaching. That may not be the thing for them. So we need to figure out their preferences. We need to know their goals. We need to know if they can use the equipment, if they're going to get the coaching they need. We need to talk to these coaches. We need to figure out, hey, if I start sending you new members that are working around injuries or total joint replacements, are you familiar with these conditions? Can I help share some tips and tricks I've found to be helpful when we're helping bridge the gap? So the best thing that you can do as a provider is don't just show up and ask to walk around for a free tour. Take a class. Oftentimes classes are free. If they're not, pay $20. Go do a drop-in. Check the place out for yourself. Talk to the coaches. The conversation is not going to be nearly as valuable as having an experience. Go experience it for yourself. Put yourself into the mindset of your patient after discharge. Are they going to get the support? Are there people like them? Can they use the equipment? Are they going to think it's fun? We need to really figure this out, but we've got to start with the end in mind. In the article, we do share a list of questions to kind of give you some ideas of what those specific questions might be once you go check out a fitness facility. The second step, very important here, prepare for what's ahead. Prepare our patients. The best thing we can do is set positive expectations for group-based fitness. Jim, I think you're going to love this. I know that you like rowing. We've done some rowing in your sessions already. They're really good at teaching you on the rower. There's going to be a solid chunk of your exercise program that's going to include rowing. You're already good at it. You feel good. You're confident when you do it. And this will change your life. If we can keep you participating in group-based fitness, it's unlikely you're going to end up back in the hospital again. It's unlikely you're going to end up back in my clinic again to be treating your neck or back or your shoulder pain. There is a good chance that you're going to be able to play with your grandkids for decades to come. There's a good chance you're going to be able to use the resources you've collected over decades to have some fun in life. You're going to build some margin. So not only are you able to complete daily life, you are going to have extra reserve for fun. And that's what it's all about. We want you to have fun. We want you to seek adventure, whatever that means to you. We want you to be involved in the lives of your family long term. So those things can be really helpful, just setting positive expectations for exercise and what that may look like. We also give some examples of how to set up guardrails, because we've got to give our patients guardrails. Hey, once you go into class, if you feel this type of symptom for this duration or at this intensity, here's what you modify. And give them some practical tips. Do they need to go slower? Are there symptoms based on speed? Are there symptoms based on load? Are they load dependent symptoms? Is it volume dependent? Hey, if you see the workout and it looks like you're going to get over X number of reps, you need to modify something. So just know that you've got to give some guardrails so that they're prepared before they go to class. And what type of symptoms? And this is going to vary wildly, right? We do this individualized assessment for a reason. We've got to create some guardrails for our patients. Symptoms are okay from here to here. They can last for this long. They can be at this intensity. Otherwise, we need to modify. And then they need to know from you what they need to modify. And this is a conversation that should be ongoing throughout your bout of care anyway. We're just applying it to the conversation about activity within a group-based class. Then we need to also reframe symptoms. Our patients need to know the difference between hurt and harm. They need to know, is it okay to experience discomfort in the front of their thighs with squats? Is it okay for them to feel things in their butt and back if they're doing some type of hinging-based movement? We need to have this conversation. SOAR is safe. Ellen Seppi shared this with me. I love that quote. SOAR is safe. SOAR is good. SOAR means you're making your way to your goals. You're making your way back to the land of fitness, and soreness is expected, and also means you're hitting an intensity that is going to help you actually move the needle forward. Then the third tip, test the plan. Man, I made this mistake so many times when I first came out of school. I'd get someone feeling better. Their symptoms would be almost gone. I'd be like, all right, great. Now we'll have a conversation about how fitness is going to change your life. when we didn't sprinkle it into our care. Our sessions looked nothing like fitness. And I just cut them loose and said, hey, go try this place out. It's convenient for you. I hope it works out. and give them no guidance. But the reality is we need to keep those patients on, sometimes for 2 or 3 visits. If you're in an outpatient setting, get them into class, give them the guardrails, test a plan. We need to test a plan and make sure that that critical transition goes well and that we're there to help catch them. We need to be the safety net. So if it doesn't go well because they hate the class, equipment didn't work like we think, the coach was mean to them, where else are we going to send them? But we've got a huge opportunity, I would say responsibility, for our patients that are sedentary. If we want to change their life, they've got to get connected with fitness. They've got to keep moving in some form or fashion. And we know that adherence rates are much better in group-based fitness. We need to get them plugged in. We need to make sure that transition goes well. We'll be there if they have cranky joints, but man, I'd rather be treating cranky joints than heart disease or diabetes or any other sort of metabolic condition. It's critical that we save a few visits to make sure the transition to fitness goes well. Team, that is just the quick overview of this article that I co-wrote with Dr. Dustin Jones. We share lots more tips and tricks, but we're kind of out of time here on the podcast. So to recap, the 3 things that you want to make sure that you do: discharge planning starts on day 1. Start with the end in mind. We need to set positive expectations and also reframe symptoms. Sore is safe. Hurt does not equal harm. Then we need to test a plan and make sure that transition goes smoothly. If you're interested in reading the full article, we'd be happy to provide that to you. All you need to do is comment on the Instagram post, and I'll be able to send that to you. You'll need to DM me your email, and then from there, I'll be able to send you a copy so you can read it in its length. I hope there's some helpful things. We'd love for people to learn from our mistakes and things we didn't ask or advice we did not give members as they were making that transition to fitness. But team, I'll leave you with this. The reality is you can see lives transformed. We know that the research that I shared earlier about group-based fitness, we know it from a statistical standpoint, but living it and seeing members stack weeks into months into years, reverse their diabetes, reverse heart disease, start going on epic trips, doing things for the first time in their lives in their 60s, 70s, and 80s is a life-changing experience for you that will keep the fire stoked for years of clinical practice. So if you're interested in more helpful content from us, we're going to be on the road in New York in November 2nd and then December 8th in Ohio. Our next online cohorts are not going to be until 2025. Those will kick off on the 6th of January and then the 7th of January. Team, I hope this was helpful. If you've got any helpful tips and tricks that I didn't mention here, please share in the comments, or if you have any thoughts. Otherwise, team, have a wonderful Wednesday, and we will see you next time.